Good morning, Internet. Today is Thursday, March 7th, and this morning I wanted to revisit the idea of storytelling as conversation. I talked about this in a previous video, and the sound was all screwed up, so I re-recorded that whole thing, hopefully hit on all the same topics. But the basic idea was that I wanted to contrast the idea that video games are interactive media and the idea that other storytelling isn't. And I talked about how non-video game storytelling actually is extremely interactive, and the part that makes it interactive isn't, as we normally think of in video games, the ability to type a keyboard or move a mouse and make things happen. Um, the real the real interactivity is the storyteller's ability to anticipate the reactions of his audience, um, and then use those reactions um, to create a kind of awakening in the listener. And we talked about a really good example of this in Hitchcock's movie Psycho, um, where the established tropes mislead the audience terribly to such an extent that when the film reveals what story it's really telling, it's a true revelatory, shocking experience, and it just sucks the viewer right back into the story. Um, and so I was thinking more about that idea, and I think there are um, two other things I want to say about that. One, a particular storytelling uh, type, and then a particular example of that. Um, I realized when my wife and I were watching Futurama, actually, that that show does the very same thing that Hitchcock was doing in Psycho. But in Futurama's case, it does it, like, I don't know, 10 times a minute. Um, and what it's doing is uh, it's anticipating that the audience knows all of the tropes, in this case of science fiction, um, movies, television, books, all of those sci-fi science fiction tropes that the audience is familiar with. So when the storyteller anticipates those, they can use that anticipation for dramatic effect, either by fulfilling the expectation as we would expect, or by completely going in a different direction. So setting us up to expect one thing and we get something completely different. Um, but in Futurama's case, I think what it does with that method is humor. It takes the expected tropes of the genre and turns them upside down. Sometimes it's just silly, sometimes it's very clever, um, but it makes you laugh. And in thinking more about that, um, I started to wonder if comedy, if humor, um, in a very general sense, is an abuse of tropes. It's an abuse of expectations. And thus, it is another extremely interactive form of communication. I don't know that it would necessarily be storytelling. Um, but I suppose it still is, really. I mean, uh, yeah, let's go with that. Um, so comedy, yeah, is a very, very interactive form of storytelling. Because the punchline in a joke, say, is almost always not what you would expect by the setup. The setup is putting you into a certain frame of mind, into a certain way of thinking, and then the punchline is pulling the rug out from under you. And for whatever reason, us humans find that funny, and we laugh. Um, and in a show like Futurama, this is often done visually. It's often done very subtly. I think Futurama is a, an excellent example of not only this topic, but just of filmmaking. I really admire that show. Um, So those are a few more thoughts I had about this storytelling idea and this interactivity and abuse of tropes, and I thought that might be interesting to just put out there. Um, I will probably circle back around to this topic again in the future because it's one that interests me. I'll keep thinking about it, but for today, let's leave it at that. And I hope everybody has a great Thursday. And I will probably be uploading at least one other video today, maybe something in my Minecraft series, one of those perhaps. But otherwise, I will be back tomorrow also for more videos. So until next time, have a great day.